Is plating holding you back without you even knowing it? Do you know, every week, chefs and home cooks come to me here on the Plating Gym to help them with some of their plating. And most of them fall into the same old design traps that stop their plates from standing out, either on the pass, in the home kitchen, or even online. I've worked for over 10 years as a professional food photographer here in the UK, working with some of the best visual chefs in the country, so I know what looks good on the plate. So no more mucking around, we're going to dive immediately into this dish here, which looks both delicious and elegant, but by no means perfect. But that's okay, because perfect isn't the goal, progress is. So what are we looking at, you might ask? Well, it's a stunning plate of hamachi crudo, a raw yellowtail dish that lives somewhere between sashimi, ceviche and carpaccio. To me, this dish already looks stunning, but with just a few simple tweaks, we can probably take it from pretty to jaw-dropping. And the chances are there are many of you out there who would have made some similar errors too. So let's fix that. For me, this is a seriously elegant dish already. I really like the precision of it already. You can tell by the way it's cut and the way it's arranged that this chef has a degree of skill already. This has not happened by accident. I particularly like all the colours we have here. The use of analogous colours, analogous being similar on the colour wheel. So you've got the reds moving through pink into the yellows and the oranges, all of which work really, really nicely on the plate. The plate itself, I think, possibly is a whiter plate, but I think due to the lighting, this looks like it might have been taken at night, which can change the colour of the whites in any image. So for me, I think this is probably set more on a white plate, even though it looks kind of yellowy. I really like the rim on the plate as well. It's kind of acting as a protection to the very delicate elements on the inside. The plating is clearly very precise as well. You can tell how he's cut it very precisely and placed it with intention, which is one of those things that is super important in a simple-ish looking dish like this. It's got some symmetry, but it also has enough room to breathe all in and around the edges. So there's some nice negative space in there. Nothing feels overworked. It feels very natural, very organic. So we can see here how he's laid them out. The garnishing, I think, is something that is actually particularly strong on this dish. We've got a variety of different things, from coriander leaves, or cilantro, I think he called them, so I'm guessing this is based out in the States somewhere. We've got the pickled shallots, which adds a nice circular element to contrast the more rectangular shapes of the fish there. He didn't actually know what these flowers were, and I don't either, but again, they add a great deal of visual interest, I think, even though I can't tell you if it's just visual interest or the taste, because I don't know what they are, but I'm sure they probably would work really, really well. We also have the dots of sauce. The dots of sauce is a calamansi gel, and then we've also got the spiced coconut vinegar underneath as well. That's the bit that's probably pooling in the middle there. I think it's a fantastic looking dish. I think it's something that he's clearly thought through. He's got a lot of skill to actually prepare it, and I'm sure it's delicious to eat. Again, be something, I'm a huge fan of sashimi, and this sounds like it's not a million miles away from that. So sounds very, very exciting. Vibrant, beautiful looking dish. I think it looks fantastic. Now, if you think you might need a little bit of help in producing plates of food like this, then why not download my free Plate Like a Pro guide from the description below. It's a simple free one-page guide that can really help you structure and organize your plating to help you plate like a pro. And if this document helps you at all, then a like or a comment on this video would be super, super helpful. Thanks so much. So what things do I think could be done to help improve this dish? Well, it's a very, very competently plated dish. I think there's not a great deal that he needs to think about to change it. Maybe just tighten up a few extra elements. So for example, on this angle here, we can see that the composition seems to have a bit too far one way on the plate, to be honest. There's a lot of negative space here and not so much here. So I think he's maybe gone for an asymmetrical plating, but I don't think that really comes across, because it's not sort of either tight enough here to make it look like you've done it intentionally, and it's not central enough to be a more symmetrical plating. I think it needs to be thought out through a little bit more in terms of where this is actually plated. I think it needs to either come more in a circle down here, and leave more space around the edge, or you need to move everything straight into the middle. That would just then make it look a bit more intentional. So much of this dish is brilliant because it looks intentional. I just think where he's placed it, it kind of stuck in the middle, a bit of no man's land, which I don't think is necessarily helping it. That would then, I think, communicate with the negative space a bit better as well. We would see a clear space between it, either with more white space here or more white space surrounding the fish. And I think that would make it a lot more powerful. I think the other area possibly is a colour issue to do with the gel and the vinegar sauce. They're all relatively similar in colour, so they kind of merge in between it. He's clearly gone to an effort to make the dots of the gel around it, but for me, they kind of get a little bit lost in the sauce and the vinegar. They're a similar sort of colour, similar sort of texture, and again, if you could do maybe something with the vinegar part of it. I think the gels are great, but I think the vinegar, either you need to separate it more to create some white space in between the two rather than having them overlap, would certainly help it. Or if you could try and get a little bit of more colour contrast in there, that would probably help too. And one more thing to potentially think about is possibly a little bit of height in there. everything's very flat. It's also quite hard to tell what the star of the dish. So maybe working on hierarchy a little bit more to try and work out exactly where the eyes should be going first, because it's not overly clear, I don't think. And a little bit of height would add a bit more contrast to the dish, either by maybe twisting the hamachi or placing it maybe slightly on top of each other, something like that, maybe into more of a chopped format. That could work too. But I'll go into that in a little bit more detail when I go through some of the examples of what I think I might be able to do. So I think he's done a brilliant job on this dish. But why people are submitting their images to me is because they want some feedback on maybe other things that they could do, not because they need to improve it hugely, but I think it's always good to have another set of eyes to have a look at something, especially in any creative endeavor, to see what other people would do. Okay, so moving on, here's some thoughts I had about the dish. Agree or disagree, as I said, it's all purely subjective. What I thought might be quite a good place to start, maybe to use a linear layout here. So these are the pieces of hamachi. So I'm going to pop these. So I'm going to pop these onto the plate like this, in a line, in a diagonal line, I think. So I think we're still sticking with the 5 pieces. I think I'm going to move them ever so slightly like this, a little bit more asymmetrically, I think. And I think I might also rotate them ever so slightly. There we go. Going to rotate them ever so slightly. That can work really, really nicely. We then move on to the pickled onions. So I'm going to place just a couple of them here. I think it gives some very nice shape contrast between the sort of the more rectangular shape and then the circular shape as well, which is great. We've got some nice negative space in between, which I think will work nicely. And again, just adds that extra element of sort of precision. Then the dots of sauce. So as I said, we've got the gel here. So we can pop a couple across the plate. There we go. Have a little bit of separation, maybe one there, move this one over here. But I think what he did with the garnishes was really good, so I'm not going to change that an awful lot. So we'll pick a couple of these up. Again, these are just there to not look absolutely identical, but we're going to pop them on. And then again, some of these little red flowers. And as I mentioned, I think the spiced coconut vinegar, albeit delicious, does need to be thought of a little bit different. So maybe we could just pool some of that in the middle, something like that. So you've got all the elements in there, but just place a little bit more in a linear layout with a bit more negative space in and around all of the elements. So there you go, a completely different style of layout, which I think has its own pros and cons, but for me, it adds just a little bit more precision to the plate, a little bit more intentionality, all of which could be done without changing the cooking or anything like that. It just, I think for me, creates a little bit more interest. And I think you can certainly tell with the line of the hamachi that that's the star. I think we now have the hierarchy that the dish was missing before slightly, and then we also have the precision of the sauces. So let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think this style of plating is more suitable for the dish, or would you actually go for the original version? So in this version of the dish, I decided to change the hamachi from the fillets almost into a coarsely chopped tartar, and then using a ring mold to put it into this shape here to add a little bit more visual contrast. So again, so that's what we got here. This is the ring, if you can imagine that. Now, do we think central? For me, again, I think a little bit asymmetrical would be good. So a little bit off the center plane of the plate. The good thing about the ring mold as well, again, it adds to that precision, but you can also get a little bit more height with it. You could also use the center of it to add some more interest. Oh, whoops, didn't mean to move the mise en place. Let me just lock that down. There we go. So again, we've got some of these circular pickled onions. So I reckon we use a few more of them this time to almost mirror the shape of the ring of hamachi, like that. Let's move it a little bit down there, I think. So we've got a diagonal going across there. And then it's a case of the little gels. Maybe we'll just have a little less of it this time. We'll just have a 3, maybe up there. I think this is already looking like a stronger layout to me already. I really like the look of this. And then we're going to add the coriander leaves, and maybe just we'll put the red ones on top of the dots for just that little bit more interest and color contrast rather between the yellow of the sauce and then the red of those brilliant looking little edible flowers. And then finally we'll pop in a little bit of the sauce. I don't mean sauce, I mean vinegar. Maybe we pool it just a little bit bigger. I think I'm going to move these so we can get this in here. There. Now for me, that's a really cool looking plate. We've got some lovely shape contrast, we've got some lovely color contrast, and again, it's an isolated layout. So again, we've got some lovely negative space in and between all of the elements, which shows the precision of the chef and also the intentionality of the chef, which is super important. But what do you think? Which one would you go for? The original or 1-2 of the ones that I've come up with? Now clearly I am not a chef, so I do not know what other elements could go with this. One thing I did think about was trying to add a little bit more of a texture contrast to the dish. Maybe that could be through a number of different things, but one of the things I thought about was maybe like a crunchy slaw, something like that to go with the shallots, maybe using nori rice cracker or some dehydrated seaweed. Again, that would add a bit more green to the plate, which might be quite nice to really contrast between the analogous pinks and yellows and reds with the greens as well, because we've only got a little bit of green. So that could work quite nicely as well. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. So thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing maybe the benefit of sketching dishes. I know this is not technically sketching, but it's just an easy way to try and visually communicate it to everybody. Now, if you think drawing might be something that might help you with your own designs, why not click on the video here, where I go into much more of a deeper dive about how it can benefit you.